So most content creators in this space talk about confidence and showing that through techniques like strong eye contact, good body posture, what to say when approaching somebody cold. Those work. Those are all well and good, and I've spoke about them on my channel as well. But while those techniques work, there is something underneath that without that getting sorted out, you fundamentally will still struggle in the communication space. And actually you'll struggle in life in general. That underlying problem is fear. And I haven't seen a lot of people in our space talk about that to the depth that I'll talk about it today. So you know that feeling before striking up a conversation with somebody new, right? You enter a new workplace or you enter into a new team. And then there's someone you're genuinely curious about. And they're sitting there punching away on their keyboard. And then you just want to have a chat, break the ice a bit. Like integrate yourself more within the team. Or it could be like there's a girl that you're interested in and you want to get to know her more. And then that same feeling, those two situations creep up underneath. It creeps up into your guts. It starts to tighten, your mind starts to race and go on overdrive. What if what I say is stupid? What am I supposed to say? Is this a natural way to open up? Do I look needy? Crap, man, this is starting to, get sweaty palms and stuff. And then before you know it, you're going to talk yourself out of doing it in the first place. You're already going through like a full threat assessment before the interaction even began. And then, later on, you might kick yourself for not doing it. But that is not a character flaw. That's not something that's wrong with you. That's not you being less than other people, because everybody has that and it is absolutely petrifying. That is your nervous system doing what it's supposed to do. It's protecting you. It's there to physically keep you alive in the event that there's a physical threat. So the problem isn't that you feel fear. It's that it's misfiring when the stakes are actually really low. It's like a physical response pattern to what is a social situation. Now, in all those instances, you talking to the girl or guy and you talking to a coworker, you're not in danger in any one of those situations. But your response pattern, the fear that doesn't know that. Now, sadly for me, and possibly you as well, this results in something which I call the negative cycle, right? Which is where you want to do this thing, you want to give it a shot, you want to talk to the girl, you want to talk to this new person. But because you never did this before, you are incredibly uncertain. You don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. You don't know how it's going to turn out. You haven't done this kind of thing very much before. And you're not really much of a talker, let's say. And so when the thought of trying it for the first time, your mind is firing off, right? You get scared. Your mind says, you've never done this before. There's no telling how it's going to turn out. What if you look like a complete tool? And those concerns are valid. But when you heed that and you don't give it a shot, you don't give it a try because of the danger that might come about in this small interaction, then the next time it comes around again, you want to break rapport, you want to talk to this person, you're going to encounter the same beast. It's going to gatekeep you each and every time. So this is the negative cycle. It's where you're thinking of previous instances, right? Proof against your fears. Like, how do you know it's not going to turn out badly? How do you know they're not going to laugh at you or think you're a tool or think you're weird or think you're awkward? The only way that I've found that really could counteract that beast to that extent is evidence proving otherwise. Such as, what if you look a bit weird while doing it? And then luckily in my mind, I can go, well, I've done this a number of times before, and they never gave me the impression that I'm weird. In fact, those people became more warmer towards me, and they would oftentimes approach me. And at this point, we're friends. Or at the very least, we're acquaintances that can comfortably talk about topics. Like, it's not even just small topics, it can be bigger topics, about family, about passions. And I'm sure you want that as well. So when the gatekeeper comes and you've never done it before, you don't have evidence to be able to, get past that gate. And since you don't have evidence, you don't try because it's too risky, and then you eventually just don't try. And you never build up the confidence to take that first step. You are not inconfident because you're scared, because you're a tool, because you're awkward, introvert. It's none of that. You're not weak. There's nothing wrong with you, man. man or girl. I can use a classic example that you and many of the guys in my audience, I'm sure, will understand. When there's a girl that's interesting and you want to talk to her, each step you take towards her, it feels like you're about to drop off a cliff, like you're walking a narrow bridge. The moment she looks at you and the moment that like there's any sign of disinterest, you're going to start to like say all this crap in your mind, and every inch of your body is wanting you to completely bitch out and completely not do this thing, because it is just that petrifying. It feels like jumping off a cliff. But that's not you being wired to be more scared or anything, or there's nothing wrong with you there. That's all normal, man. And it's normal to, you know, go back home and just stew about that crap and that experience. It's like, oh, I should have done this. The regret starts to sink in hard. Maybe that's just me. Nah, that's definitely not me. I know you guys feel that as well. But pushing through that and giving it that one shot is still worth it. So I want to make 3 key points in this video. And the first one is that it's okay to be afraid. Let me repeat that again. It is okay to be afraid. That's normal. Fear before going to the gym, before talking to somebody, before sending a job application, before walking into an interview. I don't know any person who I've ever spoken to, even people who are confident or at least appear confident, ever tell me that it was like they didn't feel anything, not even a little bit of anxiety of some sort in a lot of those situations. It was certainly the case for me. And even as I'm talking about so many of these things and maybe how I appear on camera, right? The feeling inside is still very much the same as yours. It's not something that you need to fix or get rid of. It's just something to navigate through. It's something to work with. And in fact, it can be used as a fuel too. The key here is to not let the fear seize control of the wheel and dictate what actions you do next, but as a fuel to motivate you to give that thing a shot. It's actually an indicator that what you're doing is about to give you the opportunity to grow a lot more. If it's something you're scared of, it's something you've never done really before, or it's something you don't know how it's going to turn out. And when you give it a try and you get a positive result or you get a negative result, right? You now have more answers. You now have more clarity, right? You learn something new. So that's point number 1. It's okay to be afraid. That's a normal aspect of people. Even if you think it's something small, right? Even if you think that other people don't struggle with it, like talking to a girl or talking to a new coworker. Trust me, I know people who have been in the workforce like 50 years plus, 40 years plus, right? More experienced than I am. And I can visibly see the fear in their eyes when they're talking to someone new or they're talking about something that they're a little bit shy of as a topic, right? It is completely normal. Trust me, there are people who are more scared than you. That's all normal. Point number 2 is that bravery, which is what I'll be encouraging, is not the same as fearlessness, which is perhaps what you are aiming for. Bravery is acting in spite of the fear. It's using willpower, motivation, or maybe some moral reasoning as to why you're doing the thing, but the fear is still there trying to wrestle your control, but you push through anyway, right? That is bravery. Fearlessness is where you don't feel any shred of fear at all, right? Bravery is the first step that goes towards fearlessness, maybe eventually, but even some of the people who are the most successful entrepreneurs, right? There's still situations to which you put them in that they're not going to feel completely comfortable. They're still going to feel scared. But what they have is bravery. This is not reckless. This is not faking confidence, certainly so. So I would encourage you guys to take a small act of bravery, right? The first few steps, having the chat with someone in the kitchen, right? It makes a bit more sense. Maybe not just cold approaching somebody as they're working on the seat, you know, maybe they're deep in their work or something, right? Something that makes a bit more sense. Maybe a friend of a friend. Just a small act of bravery to get you going. If you want to hit the gym, right? Don't buy all this gear and all these supplements and all these shoes and stuff to make yourself look prim and proper so that you try to, I don't know, maybe you're self-conscious about how you appear, which if you're first going into the gym, everybody in the gym understands, right? Don't go to that degree. Like, don't try to overthink it and do this whole thing around it. Like, I'm not saying that if there's someone you're interested in, right, that you search all these pickup lines and then, you know, take the shot and expect to be like, I don't know, one of the best pickup artists in the world. That would be unreasonable. Like, don't go, if you want to go to the gym, don't do all those things. Maybe just start with taking a walk just around your block, or doing some push-ups, or maybe asking a friend who is more into fitness and doing it with him, because then there's another person and it's a lot easier to get that flow going. It's encouraging, it's motivating. Even though you just did the walk, right? And let's say you want to get jacked. You saying you did the walk, you telling yourself to do the walk, and you actually doing the walk is in effect the act of bravery, right? It's stacking up evidence, right? So the next time you face that beast again and it's saying, what if it ends badly? Well, you have done a brave act before. Yeah, sure, you're not jacked now, but when you said you were going to do the walk, you did the walk. And then you start to build confidence in yourself first. And then the gatekeeper gets weaker and weaker. You want to weaken that gatekeeper, that fear, that giant bouncer that's blocking your way, getting into where you need to go. You start those small wins, but you have wins, right? It's like a general in the ancient times who had so many victories. Their confidence would be through the roof because they have documented evidence of them triumphing, right? They did the thing, they won. So that's point number 2. Small acts of bravery that build up your portfolio of successes. That portfolio of successes will serve as such a great resource for the rest of your life. And then you can write a story for other people who are struggling that you know, and you can tell them exactly what happened and how you did it. It could be small things. And sometimes even the smaller, the more encouraging. And another point that I want to mention that I don't see other content creators talk about, and that's screwing up is going to be a part of this process. There's going to be times when you're going to ask yourself to take that walk and you're not going to walk. There's going to be times you say you're going to go to the gym and you don't go to the gym, at least for that day. There's going to be times when you want to talk to that person and you just don't do it. Your throat clogs up, your gut seizes up, and you don't go. That's okay, right? That's going to happen. You're going to psych yourself up, try to get this motivation going, and then when the real thing hits, that bounce is going to be big and it's going to completely block you off. That's not you being hopeless. That's not you not having what it takes and that you're never cut out for it. That's you just simply being human. When people say they're going to do something and they don't do it, they treat it as a failure, right? And they use it as the opposite of the stack of evidence that's going to be really good against the bouncer. It's now a disempowering evidence against it. So it makes the bouncer even worse. It makes the fear even worse. Now you feel like you have evidence that you didn't do the thing and that you're even more hopeless. But failure is a part of the process. It's not like you got any fatter, or it's not like you got any less confident, right? You did the same thing as you always would have done. You're at the same level. You didn't go backwards. You didn't take a step back. You said you were going to do it. You didn't manage to make that step. I would say that's a step forward, because previously you wouldn't have even thought of taking that step. But now you thought of it at least, and you did give it a shot. You did, at least mentally, you tried. It's just that you couldn't get over that hump yet, right? Always use the term yet, because you can do it. I've done little things and couldn't commit to them many times. Even now, as I think I've done major strides in my career, major strides in my confidence, I still make those little mistakes to this day, right? You're not alone in that. So reframe. When you fail to commit to something, even when you tell other people that you're going to do something and you fail to meet that expectation, that's a small step forward. It is not a way back, right? Give it another shot. Try it again. You will stack up the evidence, and then when you encounter this situation again, you might have both. You might say, there's times I said I was going to do it and I didn't do it, but there was also times I said I was going to do it and I did it. And the more times you do the brave thing and you actually achieve the act of bravery, the more evidence you collect, and then you're well and truly on your way to getting the things that you want. Not just a thing you want, all of the things that you want. You start to believe in yourself because you have unrefutable evidence that you've done it. So the 3 points I'll just talk about again, right? Fear is normal. It is absolutely natural to be afraid of doing something. Everybody has that. There are people who are more afraid of things, and there's some people who are less afraid of things. But that feeling, that gnawing feeling in your gut, that's a normal feeling. Point number 2. Bravery is acting in spite of the fear, right? That is what's really going to get you what you want. It's the acts of bravery. You don't need to be fearless before you give it a shot. In fact, you need to be scared first and do the thing, right? That act of bravery is a stack of evidence. The most powerful part of that is that when there's fear inside of it and yet you act in spite of it, that's what's really going to give you confidence. Because you're going to start to believe that you have some real inner strength, which you do. The fact that you're watching this video means you want to give this an honest shot. That's a huge start that most people don't do. And the third and last point that's really important is that not committing to the act of bravery, being in the moment, sucking yourself up, and ultimately not taking that step is a part of the process. That's normal, right? You will suck yourself up and fall through on your expectations. You will. That doesn't mean you've reset the clock. That doesn't mean you've gone back to square one. That doesn't mean everything you've done was for naught. No, it doesn't. The work you've done in thinking it through and trying to make that act happen, mentally at the very least, is steps forward. You've just encountered a bit of a blockage, right? There will be a way to go around it or go through it. But what about you guys? What are some of the small things or acts that you've done that really pushed up your confidence, right? What do you think has really started making you a much more confident person? Or small acts of bravery that got you the things that you wanted to get, right? Let me know your journeys. Let me know some of the things that you encountered. I'd love to hear them. Drop it down in the comments below. If that content resonated with you, give it a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.